IONIQ 5 is making waves around the world as an excellent EV vehicle for the electric brand of Hyundai. As this is the first step for IONIQ because IONIQ 6 comes out later this year, or at least is fully announced, and then the IONIQ 7 comes out probably a year or two later, the 3-row. But today we're going to talk about the IONIQ 6 and the teaser shots that Hyundai has just given us, so let's get into it. Over at Motor One, they've kind of compiled the shots, so we're going to break it down. The full vehicle should be unveiled later this week from what I'm hearing. So that sounds like a lot of fun. Definitely stay tuned and make sure you subscribe because I will update you when we get these full production images. We won't have specs, but I'll give you guys specs today. We'll get the spreadsheet. Like, it's 99% going to be identical in terms of powertrains to what we have in the IONIQ 5. This is going to be the rear lights of the new vehicle. Now, it is similar, but of course we're going to have more detail on the concept prophecy, which foreshadowed the IONIQ 6. So we have kind of this equalizer sort of style on the back, and I am hearing that these rear lights could be customizable. So we could see some sort of designs like this in the future and maybe as downloadable updates. That would be pretty cool. But this light bar kind of acts as a spoiler that kind of sits above the trunk lid here. Next is the C-pillar. Now, of course, in the prophecy concept, it looks a lot more smooth, more futuristic. I expect the final vehicle to have the same general shape, but not quite as like suave as this, because you can see the door of the production model cuts into the roof line, which we don't have that at all here in the prophecy. We also have this partition here in the C-pillar that we don't have. Looking at the front, I'm assuming this is the front. It's kind of hard to tell, but I don't know where else in the vehicle would be. So I brightened up the image of an old image that we had of the prophecy. And we don't have really any idea what the new headlights are going to look like. We have a good idea of the taillights, but this is definitely the front end. Now, we do kind of have this portion here that looks, you still have this vertical bar, but this portion looks new off the side. And we also have this line across the front that could be maybe the new headlights. It's really hard to tell, but I would assume this black bar here houses some sort of light. It might be daytime running lights. It might not be. It's hard to tell. But this is the most mysterious part of the teaser images for me. So if we compare the back of the prophecy to the 6, you can see how many less LEDs there are in the back. Now, if you look here, the whole back bumper is potentially LED lights. Obviously, that's not going to make it to production. And that could have been customizable, right? But that would have been way too expensive. And the lights themselves have been redacted with the complexity. So we have 3 across here, but gosh, what is it, 20 deep? Yeah, it is 20 deep. I just counted every single little pixel here. Over here, I'm going to count it for you guys. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15. So a reduction of about 25% of those LEDs per rear taillight here. These rear taillights are further out, closer to the tire than they were on the prophecy concept. Or it could be that the new vehicle isn't nearly as wide as this. So the tires could have been sucked in a little bit comparatively on the production version. Now we have an idea of the wheels. Look pretty good. They look like Hyundai wheels to me, similar to what we see in other Hyundai products. They look very different from like the 20-inch wheels that we have on the IONIQ 5, for example. We have a 360 camera here underneath, but also this is your digital mirror, which is not going to be available in the United States because that is still illegal. Don't know for how long. I expect this sort of camera style mirror to become legal eventually in the US. Just nothing gets done here quick, as you guys know. And that summarizes the last image. So what about powertrains here for the IONIQ 6? I don't see them being any different than the IONIQ 5. The only difference will be potential range, because this vehicle will be more aerodynamic, not only than the IONIQ 5, but also than the Kia EV6. So IONIQ 6 is a sedan, Kia EV6 is a crossover. So confusing. I don't know why they had to confuse us like this, but here we go. In certain markets, now it could also be here in this market, but maybe not at launch, you'll get a base model with a 58 kilowatt battery, over 220 miles of range. Probably closer to 240 miles of range, to be honest, because this is going to be more aerodynamic. Only 167 horsepower, good amount of torque though, 0 to 60, 7.5 seconds. So here's the trim that we will see at launch more than likely. 225 horsepower, 258 pound-feet torque, a couple tenths of a second quicker to 0 to 60 versus this base model. But why is this one have so much more power yet not that much faster? Well, the battery pack is way bigger. The vehicle is going to be a lot heavier. So this vehicle actually here with the least amount of horsepower might be the most fun to throw in the turns because it should be the lightest. But again, that won't be available at launch, at least here stateside. I'm sure in Korea it will be. So here's our option here. And again, I expect pricing to be pretty much on par with the IONIQ 5 and EV6. Now we will have a fast tier with dual motor, all-wheel drive, of course, 320 horse, over 400 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 under 5 seconds I'm expecting for this vehicle. Range could be pushing 300 miles on this vehicle and could be coming in after tax credit around 40 grand. Well, that's starting price, right? But probably around 50 grand if you want all the bells and whistles after credit. Now, will it get like the IONIQ 5N powertrain that we're expecting or the EV6 GT all-wheel drive? Maybe eventually as like a IONIQ 6N, but no one really needs 576 horsepower in their IONIQ or Kia. But hey, I'm happy that they're offering it. It's pretty badass. And this is just a guesstimation. It might actually cost quite a bit more than this. I just don't know. But we're not done. I have some Genesis electrified news for you. The electrified GV70 was unveiled at Goodwood Festival of Speed. So we got some more pictures of it, which is great because we only had like 1 or 2 before. Going back to the spreadsheet though, Genesis GV70 EV, as we compare it to some of the other models in the lineup from Genesis, Audi e-tron, this luxury tier, which the Lexus RZ would be in here as well, but I don't know why I don't have it. Oh yeah, it's down here. I have 2 tiers, that's right. I have 2 tiers of luxury vehicles. So these are all in the same sort of boat, sort of. But the GV70, I don't know the prices, it's my guess, but we know we have 483 horse, 516 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 will be blistering fast. Of course, it's electric luxury car. It'll have an 87 kilowatt battery. 250 mile range is my guess. Could have more, but this vehicle will be actually manufactured here in the United States of America. So that's awesome to see. Kind of reminds me how the Polestar 3 will be produced here in North America as well. So I believe the GV70 in Alabama and the Polestar 3 will be in South Carolina. So pretty exciting stuff for Asian automakers. Well, I'm calling Polestar Asian because they're owned by Geely, but they're really Swedish. But anyways, it's cool that we're seeing more EV luxury production here stateside as opposed to importing them from Korea, China, etc. Does that make the vehicle better? Maybe not. Depends on who you ask, but it's good to see that American workers have their hands on these vehicles and are getting employed. Yeah, I have one more. Sorry, I have one more thing. G80, electric G80 has been delayed, so it's supposed to be available by now here in North America. Probably won't be available till the end of this year in North America. But I'm gonna there. Thank you so much for watching. Things are melting down outside the office. Gotta be a dad. Check you next time. Peace.